Hi everyone, my name's Jo and I work for Granwick West Midlands. What I'm going to be doing is demonstrating how to make the vegetable and chickpea curry that we've already posted on our Facebook page. So you've got the recipe there, so I'm just going to show you how to put that together. So it's really simple, really straightforward with just a few basic ingredients. So in terms of ingredients, we've got onion and some garlic, which you don't have to have garlic, but it's always nice to add a bit of extra taste. So garlic, and then we've got a tin of tomatoes, a tin of chickpeas, some stock cubes, curry powder, and some tomato puree. Again, you don't necessarily need the tomato puree, but I've got some in the cupboard, so I'll put some in. And just a drop of vegetable oil. And then my vegetable of choice is going to be spinach. And then I've got some rice. So they're my ingredients. I'll just move them out of the way. And in terms of equipment, again, really straightforward. I've got a chopping board and a knife, a tin opener, a small spoon, a mug. Instead of weighing and measuring things, I just use a mug. And I've got a pan on the cooker to cook with, and I've got a pan and a sieve for when I do the rice later on. So, okay, I've already washed my hands, and as you can see, I've tied my hair back and I've wiped my surface down, so I'm all good to go. So I'm going to start off with the onion. Always start with our onion. I'm going to chop the bottom off and the bottom this end off, give me a flat surface to work on. I'm going to peel the skin off. It comes off really easy. Just leave my rubbish on the side there for now. So now my onion's on a nice safe base. I'm going to cut it in half and then just slice it downwards and then across. So it's in smallish chunks. And now my garlic. So I've got my bulb of garlic and I'm just going to take out one clove and take that out. But obviously it's got the skin on still. I don't know if you can see that, it's got the skin on still. So I'm going to chop the bottom off and the top off, a bit like I did with the onion. And then I'm going to peel the skin off. Again, once you've chopped the top and bottom off, it should come off quite easily. Chop my garlic up. There we go. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a drop of oil and place some oil in my saucepan, just a drop. Just bring that over so you can see. So you can just see just a splash of oil in the bottom, just covering the bottom. I'm going to put my heat on and let that heat up for a minute. While that's heating, I'm just going to open my can of tomatoes with my tin opener. So these are Asda Smart Price chopped tomatoes, 28p for a can, so dead cheap and cheerful. Just as good as the fancy expensive ones. Just spread that oil around there. Okay, and now I'm going to put my onion and my garlic into the pan. Just give it a quick stir and leave them just to fry away for a minute. So my can of tomatoes is open. I'm now going to open my can of chickpeas ready. Now my chickpeas have got some juice in them. I don't know if you can see there. So I'm going to drain that juice off. So I'm going to get my sieve and I'm just going to go over to the sink and drain the juice off. My chickpeas are just in my sieve now. Drain the water off. Okay, give my onions and garlic a little stir. That garlic's starting to smell nice. Okay, so my garlic and my onions are frying away. I'm now going to add in my tin of chopped tomatoes and my chickpeas. Mix all that up together. Okay, I'm just going to put my lid on that while it starts to warm through and cook. Okay, so the next step I need to do is think about my stock cube. So I'm going to take one stock cube out of my pack, and on the back it says on the back of the packet it says to melt the stock cube in 250 millilitres of boiling water. So I'm just going to pop the kettle on, Now, if you haven't got a measuring jug, that's absolutely fine. A normal mug that you have a cup of tea in is about 250 millilitres. So I'm just going to put my stock cube into the mug. I might just break it up a little bit. Just dissolves quicker if you break it up. And then I'm going to pour some boiling water into it. Be careful on this part, we don't want any accidents. And with my little spoon, I'm just going to stir it round, making sure all the stock is dissolved. Okay, so my chickpeas and tomatoes and onion and garlic have been cooking in there for a couple of minutes now. So what I'm going to do is just take the lid up a sec and add in the stock we've just made. Just going to pour it in from my mug. Now this is vegetable stock cube, but you can use any kind of stock cube unless you have a particular preference. I'm going to get my tomato puree or passata, both very similar, if I can open it. There we go. And I'm going to get a bigger spoon for this and just pop just a spoonful into my sauce. And then the bit that makes it a nice curry is my curry powder. Again, my little spoon. I'm going to add a nice big spoonful, but this is something you can add to taste. If your children don't like things particularly spicy, you might just want to put a small teaspoon in, or if you like it really spicy, you can add a bigger teaspoon, or you can actually buy a mild, medium or hot curry powder. So I use the medium, but you could buy a hot curry powder if you really like that. Okay, so they've all gone in, and I'm just going to mix them all up, which is simmering away. So I'm going to put the lid back on that, and I'm going to leave that to cook on there for a good few minutes until the chickpeas are starting to go soft. While that's going, I'm going to start on my rice. So, right, white rice I'm using. Now again, on the back, it tells me to weigh it and add so much water to so much rice and weigh it all out. Well, if you haven't got weighing scales and measuring jugs and things to measure it all out, it's pretty straightforward what I do. I use about half a cup of rice per person. Use half a mug full of rice, so that's probably enough for, yeah, one person in my house, one hour. What I'm going to do is before I put it into the pan, I'm going to put it into my sieve and then rinse it, which is what it tells you to do on the pack. So I'll just nip over to the sink. So I've rinsed my rice. I'm going to pop it into my pan. My rice in my pan, how much water to add. Because I've used half a cup of rice, which would be enough for one person in my house, I'm going to use double the amount of water. So instead of half a cup of water, I'm going to use a full cup of water. So I've got a full mug of water, and I'm going to pour that in with my rice. I'll just give that a quick mix. Get another spoon out. Just give that a quick mix. And I'm going to put the rice on to boil as well. Okay, so when the rice comes to the boil, I'm just going to turn it down to simmer and wait for all the water to evaporate and the rice to turn soft. Just give my curry a quick stir. This looks absolutely lovely. It's boiling now. So I'm going to leave it to simmer, turn the heat down a little bit and leave it to simmer on the stove while it cooks through. Okay, so while my rice was coming to the boil, I've wiped my surfaces down, put all my rubbish in the bin, just had a bit of a general tidy up. So the rice is boiling away now, my curry is just simmering away nicely. So what I'm going to do now is add in my spinach. Okay, spinach doesn't need a lot of cooking, which is why I'm adding in it now at the end. If you were to choose another vegetable such as carrots, mushrooms, peppers, then you probably want to put them in a bit earlier. So when you put the chickpeas in, you put them in to give them more time to cook because they're hard, so they need time cooking to soften up. But with the spinach, I can add it in at the end. So it looks like a big bag of spinach, but it does shrivel down. So I'm going to get a few handfuls. And again, you can add to taste. I'm going to get a big handful and add it in. And another handful. pop it in. Looks like my pan's overflowing, but it'll soon, just going to mix that spinach in. It'll wilt down in the heat and go into the curry. Okay, so my rice is now cooked. All the water's gone. I don't know if you can see that. All the water's gone, and I've had a little taste. The rice is soft, so I know it's cooked. What I'm going to do is just take it over to the sink, again, pour it into the sieve, and then pour some boiling water from the kettle, which I've just boiled, over onto the rice. Again, it says on the back of the pack, that's what you should do when your rice is cooked. So, I've got my rice rinsed with boiling water here, and now just to serve up. So I've got my plate. Put some rice on. Nice portion, that, half a cup for one person. For one adult anyway. So I've put my rice on my plate, and now my lovely curry. Again, I'm going to serve it up into there.